to do UX research as a complete beginner, let's go. User research isn't about endless data, it's about listening to the real audience you have so your designs can actually work in the real world. Bad UI design isn't just ugly, it's expensive because you can spend months on perfecting a product and watch it fail within a week. And if you've never talked to the people who are going to use it, the chances of you failing are higher. That's why user research isn't optional. And yet, I get a question from beginners all the time. How do you start doing user research as someone who's just a complete beginner, as someone who doesn't have the fanciest book on perfecting the fanciest user research methods? And this video is the perfect guide for you. So let's get started. User research isn't just optional, it is your design safety net on some level, because you can't design great products if you don't even know who you're designing for. And that's what user research helps you figure out. Here's how to do user research from scratch, even if you've never done it before. Step 1, define your goal. Know exactly what you're trying to learn. So for example, instead of saying, I want to know what users think, try, I want to know why users abandon checkout pages. Because if you're trying to figure out a specific problem, that's easier to do as opposed to the entire worldview of your entire audience, which is a mega huge data superset, which is completely useless to us on account of how large and weird and ambiguous it is. So it's easier to think in terms of what would make this user quit this checkout cart as opposed to what does this user think. I mean, you can understand why I'm being so dramatic about this, but I've seen people be dramatic about this. I myself was dramatic about this for a very long time, so the drama is allowed. Number 2, find your users. Start small and reach people who match your target audience. If you're just new and have no idea what to do, you can try posting in niche Facebook groups, ask friends, or reach out to past customers. This is some of the quickest strategy going around right now. I've seen people reach out to me, and I've reached out to people just on account of doing user research, just to ask the right questions. And it might sound weird, but it has honestly helped me as well, so I can attest to this. Speaking of user research, the interesting part about this is this isn't just limited to UX design, to UI design. User research can really help you no matter what you're doing. If you don't follow me on Instagram yet, for example, when I was just starting this channel, it was quite confusing to figure out what users, what my audience, what you guys would want. So I reached out to people who were UI UX designers getting started over here, who are following me on Instagram. So if you don't follow me on Instagram, maybe just go do that and ask them real questions on how I could make this channel better. And as weird as this sounds, their tips were actually quite interesting. So I've never mentioned this on this channel, I think, formally, but finding your users and asking your users real questions about real products isn't a weird or shameful topic in any way, because it's genuinely been very, very helpful. And I've done that, and I might do it again. So if you haven't yet followed me on Instagram, maybe go do that, because that's where all the updates are. And that's where I start messing around when I want to do user research myself. Alright, step 3, choose your method. Pick an approach that fits your time and budget. There is obviously more than one way of doing things. There is more than one way of figuring out user research. You can try interviews if you want extremely deep insights. You can try surveys if you want quick data from a lot of people. And you can do usability tests to watch how people interact with your design. All of these are separate ways of doing user testing, and all of these are very effective. So you kind of have to choose what you're going to go with in this present context. Step 4 is to ask the right questions, keep them open-ended and neutral, and start building from there. So for example, a bad question to ask in a user research interview would be, do you like our app? Because that's a very vague question, and people can honestly give you a whole spectrum of replies and lead to no real conclusions anywhere. A better question to ask would be, what was your experience using the app today? Because now when you're framing it in terms of what was your experience, they don't have to worry about breaking your heart or even looking biased or unbiased by saying, I like your app, I don't like your app. They can honestly answer in terms of whatever their experience may have been, and more often than not, you will find 50% of elements of the app were perfect, and yet 50% were just breaking apart. And these ratios can obviously change, but it's not a very yes-no situation, liking your app or not liking your app. More often than not, user research is about, this part I liked, this part was a hassle, and you can start improving on the hassles, start doubling down on what worked. So I think that's a way of keeping things open-ended. Number 5, look for patterns, because if you summarize common frustrations, needs, and goals, now you can actually start doing something that helps you out in the long run. When you're looking for real-world patterns, framing things in terms of data, like saying 5 out of 7 users struggled to find the search bar, now you have a very good insight into the search bar being difficult to find by majority of the users, and now we can actually put some real effort into getting the search bar to look better, and that's kind of the way you deal with data. Number 6 is the bonus tip for today, because I have way too many tips and you have way too many good designs to make. Turn insights into action. Apply what you've learned directly into design changes. If users say checkout is confusing, simplify the steps steps or add progress indicators just so the experiences that the users are complaining about can go smoother. And that's the kind of iterative process that lets you get into the headspace of a UX designer, start asking the right questions, start doing things right, and that's when you'll have a much more smoother experience with everything. With that said, I have a complete playlist on the top 4 ways you can plan and do a real user research event, which you can find in this playlist right here. And check out this playlist because this is the world's easiest guide to doing user research on your own. It talks about the top 4 methods of doing user research and how to do them, how to plan a session, how to plan something like that, how you'd go around doing each step, how you document everything, how you keep track of everything. So this playlist is the completely free resource you've been looking for. And make sure to subscribe, make sure to like this video, share it with your friends who are looking to do user research, and I will see you in the next one. Until then, keep on designing and good night.